come today. Time has come today.
This year has been basically a crazy year on two continents. First is South America, where we have Venezuela, a oil-rich country on the brink of civil war. In fact, it's so bad out there that today there is actually an election being held for a new constitutional assembly, so that President Maduro would be able to get the establishment out of power and try to revise the constitution so that he becomes a dictator in Venezuela. Yeah, I definitely. This is definitely a big issue that's going on in Venezuela. In fact, this vote is very unpopular that even the opposition boycotted it. I still think that the government is gonna win with 100% turnout, but I think this is just bringing Venezuela one step closer to civil war. All this trouble started back in 2014, and this is just a year after Hugo Chavez, the previous president of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, died. Before that time, Venezuela was an oil-rich country. In fact, it still is an oil-rich country. But the problem is, it relies so heavily on that. They haven't diverse their market, so that way, they would be able to not be terribly being once oil prices dropped. That's a big problem because Maduro, who was a successor of Hugo Chavez, and is now the one who is currently running the country, has inherited a dwindling economy. In fact, to try to solve this problem, he's actually offered up hikes of minimum wages. Yeah, like that's gotta help. Every time the minimum wage goes up, it's actually causing prices to get higher, and that is just from minimum wages alone. Combining that with the fact that oil prices are dropping, it's definitely making even the basic materials like toilet paper hard to come by. People are very mad. In fact, currently, Maduro has a 20% approval rating as of right now with the elections going on. Crap is going on really badly in Venezuela. 100 people are already dead, and even today, there has been reports that some officials have been killed. I'm not sure if they're government or opposition, but if they're opposition, I wouldn't be surprised. That would mean that Maduro would have one less opponent. But this is not going to help anything. Just because he's going to have his people in power in the assembly does not mean the situation will calm down. The oil prices will still go down. The Venezuelan economy will still be destroyed. And a lot of people would be homeless, without jobs, without the needed materials, without food, without proper water, and a whole lot else. And the fact that this guy is taking away freedom of speech and control from the people of Venezuela only adds on to that frustration even more. I think this is going to lead to civil war. Maybe it already has. Maybe those 100 people who are already dead, they're just the beginning. I think this is going to lead to far worse. Currently, Maduro has an ability to control the military and the police there in the country, but for how long? His country is falling. It's becoming a failed state. It's like that in either Syria or Iraq. You would expect that in the Middle East, but not in South America. It's literally on the back door of the United States. However, with that being said, I don't think that the United States should be involved in that. I mean, through humanitarian aid, yes, I that would be understandable. But in terms of like a military intervention, absolutely not. Currently, we have a bad relationship with the Maduro administration, and we have been enemies, especially since Hugo Chavez came into power. So, with that being said, if the United States ever intervened in Venezuela, that would actually be seen as an attack on Venezuela's sovereignty as a nation. I think it should be left to other nations like Brazil, Colombia, or any other South American nations to actually take up on that. I mean, to be fair, this is actually affecting them more because they are our next door neighbors with the country of Venezuela, and this is definitely going to affect them badly. If the country descends into civil war, there will be refugees, there will be violence, and there will probably be massive economic impact across the entire South American continent. That's definitely going to be a big problem. With that said, I think they should be the ones to step in and try to fix this mess. Maybe even help the opposition get Maduro out of power, and then even rebuild Venezuela as a prosperous democratic state. But I don't know for right now if that's gonna happen. I hope so, but if I were to guess what the chance of probability of everything that I said would happen, it would be 10 to 25%. Like, probability, that's all. I'm not really sure if that's gonna happen the exact way it would, but I do not think that the United States should or will go into Venezuela. Now I'm taking a different stance in terms of my next topic, and that is what's happening in the Korean Peninsula. So, just 2 or 3 days ago, an ICBM was launched by North Korea directly into space, and it traveled 600 miles and landed in the Sea of Japan. Definitely a big worry for the United States, because this rocket has the ability to strike Alaska. Hell, it may even strike LA, the city of Seattle, near where I live, maybe even Washington D.C. But then again, that's a little bit of the paranoia in me, and a little bit of the paranoia, especially in the media nowadays. But as a result of this, President Trump has actually ordered the U.S. to continue exercises and actually show some strength. In fact, just today, he sent up 2 B-1 Lancer bombers as a show of strength against North Korea. I don't know if this will actually help deter North Korea because, well, let's face it, they're complete idiots and their leader is just insane. I don't. They make Stalin look like a better politician. Stalin! And he was a nutcase. But, yeah, it's been the reason why I say that this has been a very weird year is because, well, in the Korean Peninsula, there's been more focus on that area of the world, because North Korea has been increasing its launches in mainly missile technology and use of force, demonstrating it against the United States, against South Korea, and against the island nation of Japan. The fact that they're stepping this up definitely shows that either they're getting desperate or they're actually planning to attack the United States with absolutely no fear of consequences. I think it's actually a combination of both. Because, well, let's face it, the North Korean economy has been in shambles for at least 2 decades now, and comparing it with South Korea, it looks like a third world African country. That's not something that should be known about North Korea. No, it should not be compared to North Korea. That is really bad, very bad. But what can I say when you have a leader who thinks he himself as God? I don't know what else to do. Maybe this could lead into another Korean War. I don't know. If that were the case, I would probably support the war. I don't like the North Koreans. I hope that their dictatorship dies, and I hope their people are free from those concentration camps, and that the starving will be fed someday. I really hope so, because what is currently happening is just making things worse. The dictatorship isn't still in power, and its people are suffering, and they don't care. I don't know what's gonna happen. My prediction is that there will be further shows of force from both North Korea and the United States, continuing on. I think it's going to escalate a lot more as a result of the use of intercontinental ballistic missiles. Like I said, they can easily reach the United States. With this being known from North Korea, I wouldn't be surprised if there is a ramping up of escalation. Alright, that's about all. Post your comments down below, subscribe, and like my video. Bye.
Time has come today.